Hello, it's Sadie, talking to you again at the top of the episode. So this is our very first bonus episode, the episode of our bonus show, TSTV DVD, um, which, as you will hear, is not a name that we had figured out at time of recording this episode. I think it's charming. Everyone gets this one for free. It's a little tasty tidbit to entice you to go to tstv.show and give us $3 American to get all the ones in the future. We have a couple recorded already. I think they're really good. We're going to talk about David Lynch movies. We're going to talk about movies inspiring or inspired by David Lynch. We're going to talk about movies by transgender women because we feel like it. We're going to have special guests. You're going to love it. It's $3. Yeah, you'll love them all. Enjoy this one for free. Okay, bye. Welcome to a bonus episode of TSTV. TSTV at the cinema?
Yeah, something like
what
that.
Do you think? On cinema?
I still need to watch that. Well, at the movies is like at the movies with Sadie and Lily. I don't know. That's just because
this is the intro, by the way. We're not redoing this. It's TSTV. I'm Sadie. This is Lily. It's a bonus episode.
Welcome to the Patreon
Anything
feed.
goes.
Thanks for giving us money to do this.
Yay! How are you doing, Lily?
I'm not so bad. I had a pretty terrible sleep last night, which is a kind of fun headspace to watch this movie in. It's very floaty. So I guess I'm still in that place, Last night I had this really ambitious shoot that I planned out, and then it kind of didn't work out. So I'm a little bummed about that, but I'm trying to roll with the punches. But yeah. That's me. So it goes. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I was not there last night because I went to see Alien.
Yeah.
At a cinema that you told me about, Cinema Public.
I'm wearing their t-shirt right now.
Fuck yeah. And you know what? I get it. It was great. And they were selling 6 tickets for $40. That's a nice deal.
It's a quite good deal. This is it's for now just in a little basement. There's, I don't know, would you say 30 or 40 seats maybe?
Yeah, yeah. Although it's very funny. It was when I got there, I hadn't we were on the seats that were the most facing the screen, but I had not realized how much. I feel like the seats on the side would have been a drastically worse experience because they were the seats on the side are so angled compared to the screen.
They're at a 90-degree angle. I think they often don't sell those seats for that reason.
Yeah, that would make sense. But it was really fun. It was an old 35 millimeter. They had the film.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was cool. I also I didn't realize how much it was gonna be. It really had all the little scratches and film imperfections just from having a non-restored film reel from 1979.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it was really cool. And the other fun thing about it is they had put in French subtitles, but they were also really French. This is this is just Sadie and Lily Quebec content again, but it was just so funny. It's a guy from Alien is oh motherfucker, and the subtitles oh salope. Or the one that fucking got me is at one point someone's my god, and the subtitle is just la vache, which I get, which is just the cow, but I guess is some Parisian French exclamation of oh la vache. It really got me.
I've never heard this in my life.
I know, right?
I feel popular enough things should have a Quebecois subtitle track, like how we have Quebecois Simpsons.
Yeah. I Maya was saying, because Maya wants to work on his French. Or wait, I forget if it was Maya or Tala, but someone who we know was saying that they wanted to. What if they just started watching Quebecois Simpsons to work on their French, which is great.
You should, man. That's a hotel room 7:30 p.m. childhood classic for me.
Do you know about the Quebecois Simpsons Concordia bit?
I don't think so.
Okay, wait, because there's a Simpsons episode where Lisa like does badly on a test or something,
Mm-hmm.
and is it Brown? I forget what university it is. Yeah, it is Brown. So it was very like, Lisa does badly on test, and the guy comes in and it's like, oh, naturally Harvard stores are close to you, but I'm sure they'll take you at Brown. And she's like, no, Brown. And they're like, oh no, it's a perfectly good school. Fucking the yardsmen work there. And in the Quebecois dub, it's Concordia.
Oh, that's so good. You're
It's
so
just a
owned
whole
right
thing
now.
of. I know, it's so funny. Concordia's like the Concordia's a school that I attend.
Both my parents went there.
Yeah, I mean it's a good school, but it's very like the Montreal Anglo University sphere is like McGill is the one that's like, we're basically a part of the Ivy League in Canada, and Concordia is, you know,
Normal
uh,
people go there.
yeah, but it was just the Quebecois dub of Lisa being like, no, Concordia is so funny.
That's fucking great. Anyway, anything else to share this morning? It's 1:30 this morning.
No, let's fucking talk about the TV glow.
Yeah, we saw the TV glow this day,
Yeah.
and it is my third time watching actually.
Yeah, because we watched this together in theaters. God, was it like 2 months ago now? I feel like
Must have
a
been.
while, and then we were like, "Oh, we got to do a podcast about this." But then we both had various busy things that stopped us from doing that. And I think you had rewatched it when we were gonna re-record it, but then we didn't, and then we just both watched it again independently this morning.
Yes, indeed.
Here, shall I get into like the quick recap?
Yeah, give us the goods.
Yeah, so okay, for this like bonus movie episode, I don't think we're not gonna do as much of like a scene by scene as we do for the normal episodes, but big picture, I saw the TV glow. It's the late 1990s. Depressed teenagers Owen and Maddie bond over their mutual obsession with a Buffy-style show, The Pink Opaque, which seems to have an almost preternatural allure to them. They both have ominous, abusive dads, and Maddie makes a get-out-of-this-town escape, urging Owen to go with her, but he instead stays and gets himself grounded by Tara from Buffy. Owen's mother dies, Maddie disappears, and The Pink Opaque is cancelled. 8 years later, Owen has dissociatedly settled into a miserable life working at the movie theater when Maddie reappears and tells him that the Pink Opaque is real life, that Owen and Maddie are actually Isabel and Tara from the show, and that the world they know is the Midnight Realm, a horrible world where you're not allowed to be gay. She exhorts Owen to get buried alive, to come with her to the real world where he can be a woman, but he once again chickens out and refuses. Instead, he lives the next 20 years in a miserable, rotten egg dissociation hell, becoming a real man, and grinning through the slow strangulation of masculinity.
Let's fucking go.
And then, that's big picture TV glow. There's a bunch of other little things, but do we want to? I don't know. How do you have big picture thoughts? How do you feel about the movie?
You know what? My first two watches, I was really head over heels, and I still very much like it.
Yeah.
It is. I understand what people mean when they say it's uneven. I think the style of it is superb. The music and the presentation and just like the cohesion of imagery, and not just like on a superficial level, but like it does great things. It has a hell of an atmosphere. What is it? A lot of it feels maybe a little bit on the nose.
Yeah.
But I also understand that. I understand this is a movie that they were trying to like make some money off of, and not everything is for two transsexuals who've been out of the closet for a decade. But I still have a fondness for it.
Yeah. It's funny. I wasn't sure. I wanted you to go first because I am also kind of critical. Now, I think I'm gonna say, like, when we saw it at another Montreal small theater, Cinema Moderne, which was also pretty cool. I like that one too. I should go to more of these small theaters. But like I was sobbing in the theater, like it did hit, and I think I do need to give it that. I think there are a lot of like isolated scenes and moments and like sequences that are like really, really strong. But I do, and I felt this way right after we had first seen it. I think there are some things about it that don't all the way come together for me. I think actually, because you've seen We're All Going to the World's Fair also, right?
Yes, this is the director's previous movie, which is a much like smaller scale, basically just two characters.
Yeah.
Kind of screen life adjacent movie.
Yeah. And what's did you say Screen Life? Is that a movie that, or is like that just describing the type of movie that it is, because it is.
Yeah, that's like the genre of it's really not all the way that, but Screen Life is like a story told through, a
Oh,
computer
sure.
as the frame. So you watch them like Google things and their webcam and stuff.
Ah, yes. Yeah, I mean that is very much, I think, the space that the previous one is playing in, which apparently this is like Schönbrunn wants this to be their kind of uh I'm looking at the Wikipedia page right now. It tells it is their screen trilogy, and that there will be another. Wait, sorry, I'm looking. Actually, it says there's going to be a trilogy of novels to have
No,
public access afterwards. Is that?
I believe what it is the trilogy was part one, World's Fair, part two, TV
Yeah.
Glow, third part is going to be a novel.
Huh.
Yeah,
Good for them. That's kind of fun. I
it's
love a
kind of cool,
little.
eh?
I love a little cross media jump.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, they're thinking a lot about screens and media and how we engage with them. But I have to say, so I think to me, The World's Fair is the stronger movie. How do you feel about this as a take?
I think their strengths are similar. They're both excellent at playing with like not showing you the things you really want to see or like
Yeah.
withholding information from you. I think they are both like wonderfully atmospheric. I think World's Fair might be the better movie, but I probably
Mm,
still prefer this one because it just gives you a lot more. It's just like there's a lot more to sink my teeth into, I
yes.
feel.
I'm like, okay, because I think we should get out of the way. Like you were saying, like there are parts of this that are on the nose, and I think that I also felt similarly. And
Hmm.
I'm not sure how much it, like you said, you know we've been doing transgender for a minute. That's certainly part of it. I think it's also like I'm like not entirely sure how much of that is just like I am a trans writer who has I am thinking all the time about like what I want my writing to be and not be, and I think that
Yeah.
there is a kind of trans writing that is like very, like I think like trans allegory. This is like, I mean, not even just writing, but kind of just like cultural like criticism. This was like a like the kind of like 2010s, the kind of last moments when you can get paid for writing
Mm.
things on the internet for being gay. A lot of that was like, is this a trans allegory type stuff, and so I think
Oh,
like
yeah.
between that and I think that like I really have a personal aversion to trans writing that is a bit too like this is about transgender, ta-da, like
Oh.
that's it, and I think
Hmm.
this is just a thing where I feel like some of my early work honestly is a bit too like that, and so I feel like I need to kind of push back against that in myself, and so I think I'm more judgmental of trans art that is about that. I think I have a
Sure.
harsher critical lens on that, and so I think that's one of the things. So I guess World's Fair movie before this um is like about a isolated, depressed young girl question mark who does an online like YouTube creepypasta challenge and gets reached out to by this like man in his 40s who is obsessed with this creepypasta challenge and the lore around it, and they through their like online YouTube based like video and like Skype type interactions do bad things to each other's lives in a large, but it's like this is all presented pretty understatedly. Very
Yeah.
much about like being isolated on the internet and the kinds of connections that you can get in that context that are not good for anyone involved, really. And I
Mm.
think that is like I think TV Glow gives you more than World's Fair, but sometimes I think it gives more in a way where I want it to give me less. I think especially in like
Yeah.
some of the bits where I'm like it is uh kind of a bit too like here, you know what, it's funny, I made a note of the scene when they're on the bleachers and they're talking
Hmm.
about let's see, I think this is like Maddie and Owen. This is like pre Maddie running away, uh and let's see here, it's Maddie saying like, oh, I like girls, because Owen's like kind of watch over and watch the pink opaque, um and she says like, oh, what about you, do you like girls or boys? And he says, I think that I like TV shows. When I think about that stuff, I feel like someone took a shovel and dug out all my insides, and I know there's nothing in there, but I'm still too nervous to open myself up and check. I know there's something wrong with me. My parents know it too, even if they don't say anything. Do you ever feel like that? And Maddie says back, I don't know. Maybe you're like Isabel, afraid of what's inside you. And like, I think that is an exact right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that is an exchange that I think like they had like. It feels like that script had like 4 version, like there are like 3 or 4 lines in there that could have been the banger line, and they just kept them all in.
Yeah,
Like,
a failure
okay,
to like kill your darlings.
Yeah, you know, and I'm like, damn. And but again, it's the thing where like I am like, to me, I read that dialogue and I'm like, okay, I get it. You're scared of what's inside you. I know there's nothing in there, but I'm too nervous to check. This is like banging me on the head with like, I'm a closeted transgender woman. And that's partially because I've been transgender for 10 years and I did all that. But it's also like, I forget, did you read Nevada ever, Lily?
Did I read Nevada? Yeah, you.
Oh my
you
god!
Made...
Oh my god! How could I? Oh my goodness! I'm ashamed. This is okay. Well, it's time. Okay, well, do you want to tell the lore? This
Let's
is so
do
funny.
some lore. Yeah. Okay. So, me and Sadie, as listeners may know, have known each other for many, many a year since we were both kids, just like in the same circles. Had each other on Facebook, and Sadie got into a bit of a scuffle with someone we both went to school with. About Caitlyn Jenner not understanding what it means like to be a woman.
Yeah, it was like a classic like 2016 Facebook comment argument moment. Where this girl was like, you know, Caitlyn Jenner thinks that being a woman is all about plastic surgery. And I was like, okay, listen, I don't like Caitlyn Jenner, but let's think about it. And you liked that comment as like not out at the time. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. A cisgender teenage boy is liking my well thought out commentary on Caitlyn Jenner. I don't know about that. And this was like around the times. Okay, so and then so yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so from that point, well, because I fancied myself a pretty good ally, you know.
So funny.
You texted me to be like, hey, I just read this awesome book. It's called Nevada, which I think was like a couple years old at the time and still sort of developing its reputation. And Nevada, does it need explaining? I don't know, probably not, but I feel
like, I don't know, I think it does, because I feel like Nevada, I mean, I think for people who like were transitioning around when we did, I think it doesn't necessarily need explanation, but I think like the whole thing where Topside Press fell up. So okay, Nevada, published in 2013.
This is gonna take so long. Okay.
Kind of landmark trans women's fiction book about this woman, Maria, trans, who's been trans for a long time, but is not very good at knowing what her feelings are, gets fired, gets dumped, steals her ex's car, drives from New York City to the titular Nevada, meets a young boy called James H., who she correctly diagnoses as closeted trans woman, and then tries to go, hey, you're trans, which just kind of freaks him out more, even though he obviously is, and the end, basically.
Can I say, holy shit, real parallels to this movie, actually.
Well, yeah, very much. Well, that's the thing. I feel like we have to talk about Nevada when we're talking about this movie, because I think also, like, that... so Nevada, big book at the time, Topside Press, big, like, trans, like, you know, publishing press, was kind of the talk of the town.
Yeah, big, but actually very small, right?
Yeah,
like
very small, but it was kind of like, you know, me at age 20 at that point, I was like, wow, Topside Press, this is gonna be the thing. And I think it's remembered, but much less than you would think, because it kind of fell apart for complicated reasons that we don't need to get into here. But I think that part of what is really striking to me about is like how there isn't, I think, as much kind of cultural memory of that particular like literature moment than I think I would have assumed. Like, I think there are a lot of people who came out like, you know, like COVID era or whatever, like, who are like, oh, Nevada, that's cool, I never heard of it, you know.
Damn.
Yeah, and people are like, it got reissued recently. Like, people have been like, it's been. But yeah, I don't know. I think this was like definitely something that I felt like I had noticed, but it was also kind of a meme at the time of like, you know, ask someone to read Nevada if you think they're trans, because it is a book that makes you think really hard about whether you're trans. So I did do that to Lily, which is very funny that we're doing this podcast now, given all that. It's great.
Yeah, and I only read it after I came out, I think, because I just like there was no one around me who was a trans girl, and I was like, oh, maybe this will
Yeah.
be nice.
Yeah.
It wasn't, but it was great.
Yeah.
Um,
But so I think, like, I did kind of come of age transgender wise reading Nevada, reading stuff like A Safe Girl to Love by Casey Plett. There's this big wave of like trans literature, which whatever, I could talk about that forever and all that kind of attached things. But I think the type of writing that's like exploring dissociation, exploring this kind of like removal from yourself, the feeling of, oh, someone took a shovel and dug out all my insides and I know there's nothing there, but I'm too nervous to open myself up and check. That is
mhm,
like, that's James H. Nevada.com,
that's very true.
And I
Yeah,
think this is a type that I feel I'm like, all right, we get it. I don't need much more of that in my life at this point.
that's super fair. Yeah.
But so again, I'm saying all this, but it did make me cry in the movie theater,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know? But yeah, I forget even how we got on all this, but I think we were talking about like
The on the
eh, the on
nosedness.
the noseness. I think it hits especially on the nose because it is doing this same type of
Mm,
it is hitting these notes that I think have been being hit
that's
for
true.
for a while.
And
And I think I would have wanted it to be a bit more opaque, as it were. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, and I do have something I really like about this scene, which I will get into after, but
No, 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 go
um,
for it. I think we can just fucking diddly dally.
I mean, 2014 was a time where like that was the tipping point era, right?
Mm-hmm.
And which has already been gone over with like a fine tooth comb, including by me before. But that was a time when we were still sort of getting over the every trans book of like this is what it is like to be born in the wrong body and like
Mm-hmm.
very surface level explaining it to a cis public. And I thought we were past that, I guess. Like,
I mean, I think the thing is though, like, I think like we are doing a bit of the thing of like we're so deep in it that we're like, oh, this is a. But I think that like
yeah.
when you compare this to like whatever, I'm not, I don't, but like I think the kind of like memoir like very like I think this is much less speaking and explaining to a cis public than either like trans written just kind of like memoir. I mean, not to shit on memoirs,
Hmm.
but this was also kind of the whole Topside thing at the time was like pushing back against the kind of like, wow, this is what it's like transgender, or like
Yeah.
even what I mean, the like cis written stuff. Like I think this, you know, I think it's I mean really I think the thing is like the Wikipedia page, my good old friend says that like this is something that Sharmgren started writing this 3 months after transitioning,
Yeah.
which it makes sense that at that point in time that's what you want to write about. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And
Hmm.
like I don't say that with any like judgment in that. You know what I mean? But wait, what was the other thing you were going to say about this scene?
Sure. I was gonna say basically Owen is really opening himself up to Maddie here. I
Mm,
I feel like a shovel has scooped up my insides and all that. And then asking, do you ever feel that way? And
mhm.
I really love that Maddie's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like not necessarily this this hit for me because it feels like, trying to find your people as like a young
Mm,
queer person of any stripe. It is often like I would have friends who like I recognized something of myself in them, but then we didn't actually
mhm.
have that much to talk about. Like because
Mm,
we hadn't really worked through it yet, you know? Their
yeah.
whole relationship actually feels pretty like stilted and awkward.
Yeah. Like do you feel like Maddie saying I don't know there is like that Maddie feels differently from that, or just like that Maddie is also kind of recoiling from embrace like talking about these kind of feelings or stuff?
Huh. I think Maddie is someone who's like running toward it, you know?
Mhm.
I feel like in like inviting Owen over and sending the tapes, she's
Mhm.
kind of never shown to have any like amount of fear in her.
Yeah.
I think I think they are just like a bit of an odd couple, which I
Mhm.
I quite like.
So, okay, I actually want to talk about Maddie because I think
Hmm.
I was kind of on Maddie watch watching it again today cuz I think I was thinking about like, because yeah, I think I will say like when I read that as like, oh, Maddie is also feeling in this moment kind of like numb and
Mm.
unable to parse her feelings about this in this moment, but because I think I'm I don't quite know what to make of Maddie's role in the film writ large, and I think there's like a
Hmm.
couple things there that I think could be because okay, one, it's funny, it is kind of Save Me White Girl the movie. um but because I think there's like Maddie is one, like the avenue through which Owen can access the pink opaque and like femininity and womanhood writ large, right? And
Yep.
Maddie is also like if Isabel Owen being trapped in the juice world, um
R.I.P.
um like that's you're being forced to be a man, you cannot be transgender, like it's very, that's kind of the animating metaphor of the movie, obviously.
Hmm.
And like Maddie, like in that same scene with the bleachers a bit before, she talks about how she had like a friend that was watching it with her who uh like I think she said like, oh, she told everyone I tried to grab her boob.
Hmm.
And like there's she if the closet is the world of the Midnight Realm or whatever, like she's obviously closeted as a dyke. Although it's very funny, like at the end I kept being like, because like she does say like I started using a new name, it's very like she is shows up with like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like a lot of they fab signifiers, but it's so much less like woven into the kind of fabric of this little universe than
Hmm.
Owen's gender situation, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, just the fact that, is it Tara? Tara on the other side is like a cis girl. Like a butch
Yeah.
one though.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. It's the kind of thing where I don't want to get too hung up on like, cuz being a dyke is being a dyke, and also like they are both being trapped away from a particular way of existing or whatever. But I think I was just thinking about like what it means for this, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think it is interesting that the like avenue to femininity is through this cis dyke question mark, right? And it's funny because when we saw it in
Hmm.
theaters, when we first see Maddie in like the first couple scenes, when they're like in the school
Yeah.
gym, and then when they're in her basement, I was like, is this, that I really thought that there was a good chance that Maddie's actress was a trans feminine person. And I feel
Oh.
like the way that she is dressed in those first couple scenes feels very like in the makeup, and like I think when they're in her basement, she has the kind of like t-shirt over long sleeve shirt thing, and it feels very like on the line that it could be read as like plausible deniability, like tomboy baby dyke, or plausible
Yeah.
deniability like boy motor.
Oh, interesting. I didn't get that at all, but I like that.
Yeah, and I don't know, I think it I definitely like hits differently, I think, for that to, you know what I mean? Just, and like again, this isn't like, I don't think this is bad or good, but I think that it is hits differently when I was thinking about like the character through which Owen is accessing femininity as like another trans feminine person versus a, let's say, gender non-conforming like cis dyke. But I think the other thing is like the universe of like Midnight Realm, suburb town, whatever, is like so, it is very pointed at Owen, right? At like
Hmm.
Isabel as Owen. It is like the, he walks down the hallway at the school and it is the color of the trans flag. Like it
Yeah.
is, they talk about transformation. It is about masculinity. It is about da da da. And it doesn't feel like, if this is a world in which the Luna Juice has created a world that is meant to keep them both trapped in their things, it feels. Did you ever play Silent Hill 2? You ever watch any of that game?
I know about it. I know about that's the one with a really long staircase, right?
Yeah, I love that staircase. I think something else about Silent Hill 2, and this is I think true in all Silent Hills, is that like different people in it will see different things. There's like a great
Mm.
moment where there's like a character who is like a woman who's experienced a lot of sexual trauma, who you kind of meet throughout the game, and the last time you meet her, you see kind of from her perspective that the house question mark that you're in is like all burning down, and she's like, for me it's like this all the time, which is a great fucking line. And I think like
Wow.
the idea that this space is molding itself to each person's subjectivity, I don't really know, it doesn't feel like the Midnight Realm is pointed at Maddie in the same way, you know what I mean?
Sure. I mean, this is interesting. So on one level, that can kind of make sense with the fact that like these tricks just don't work on Maddie.
Mm.
Maddie is the one who gets out first
Mm-hmm.
and just like is always much more rebellious. On the other, Owen being like very clearly the point of view character,
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like this is because the movie is really preoccupied with how his memories are being like reinscribed and sort of
Mm-hmm.
papered over, and I would not be surprised if Maddie's like subjective experience of this was just very
Different.
different.
Sure. Yeah. But I think at least in how it's, like just in terms of the movie that we see, I was struck by like how it does feel like Owen's prison that Maddie is also in. You know what I mean?
Huh.
I don't know.
Huh.
I could
Interesting.
be but I don't know. Did you have any other thoughts on this? I can look through. We can meander.
Hmm. I want to say so. A lot of people have praised Justice Smith for playing this really tight, tense character. You can hear it in their voice, you can see it in their body language, but
Jack Haven
also killed it on that front. I think as Maddie, I want to say like especially when Maddie is like a ninth grader, just
Mm-hmm.
like there is this
I did really like
tightness
that.
in her voice. Like she's trying to play it cool and like be a
Yeah.
little bit mean, but she's also a little bit like wounded.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, I really that felt like a more truthful teenager on screen than you almost ever see.
Yeah.
Like the oh
Yeah.
my god, you're a baby.
Oh, that was so good. That's so, yeah, that was really good. And also just a note just on pronouns, I guess. Like I'm using he him for Owen because I feel like it's unfortunately I think kind of true to where that character
Yeah.
ends up. But I think also, this is about a woman who is not doesn't go through with it, right? But
Hmm.
yes.
That is true. And also a quick note on that.
Jack Haven
Who plays Maddie uses they them pronouns, but
Okay.
I'm using she in the same
Okay, okay,
way
okay.
that I would use like she for Juno and Juno, you know.
So I was detecting transgender.
Hmm.
That makes sense. Okay.
I think they
Well,
might have come out after the movie happened, though. I'm not sure.
actually no, Wikipedia says 2019.
Oh, there you go.
So, good for
Oh,
them.
cool. Very cool. I love non-binary.
I
I don't
love
really
non-binary.
don't really know what's going on over there, but good on them.
We're having fun,
What else do you want to touch on
Yeah, we
early
can
on
jump all
here?
over. I mean, I think let's see, because I think let's maybe talk some more about trans allegory and the ways in which the movie is that, because like I
Hmm.
think, and this is I think like continuing a bit from us talking about it. Like I think some of that stuff is kind of on the nose because I think the first time we saw this in theaters, the first like half hour of the movie was not really grabbing me, and I
Mm.
think it's because it sets up these two kids and they're like, I'm fucking obsessed with this TV show. I think when we talk so much when we're talking about Twin Peaks about like characters having like kind of psychological character motivation versus characters moving in accordance to like the puppet mastering of the themes and the plot
Hmm.
desired, which is like I think something that David Lynch really likes to pull on. And I don't really have a like character psychological motivation for when I was watching it, like why they're so obsessed with the TV show. Obviously, the reason is because they're trapped in the Midnight Realm and they know in their subconscious that that's the real life. But I
Hmm.
think I wasn't really sold on that until it starts to become about transgender. And that,
Sure.
and I think, like affectively, I think the strongest points of this movie are all of the gut punches in the back
Yes.
half for me. Like, I think
Yeah.
let's just I have it down. Like, I think the strongest scene by far is Owen trying to put his head into the TV, and then the dad like waterboarding him effectively is like
Fuck.
fucking great. That shit. I think that's my favorite scene. It's so strong. And like I think like in the back half, the whole like, oh, it's time to become a man, like that did make me start sobbing in the theater. Also, by the way, the craziest LG product placement of all time.
Oh my god, right? They really use the shit out of the tagline "Life's good."
It's so funny. But
Uh,
yeah, like I think that stuff, and I think that the thing is, for me, I think that World's Fair, also a movie in which I think transness and gender and like queerness is very like hovering over everything, but I think has a lot of meat on the bones as a movie about like online and about online media and content and what it's like
yeah.
to be online. And I feel like I feel like the parts of, if I'm reading this movie, there's this kind of like discourse about this, right? About people like reading this movie as being about like media and people being like, you don't get it. But I think
Mm.
that's like the movie is very much trying to, it wants that to be what it's about also, right? It's fucking like they do the whole it's on streaming now for a reason, you know what I mean? Like that is part of the movie, but I
Yeah.
think that thread didn't really land for me.
Huh.
And I don't know, it's hard to put quite a finger either thematically or again just kind of like character psychologically. I'm like, I don't really buy the things that the characters want and do unless they are like a like crypt unless they're in a crypt. Yeah, exactly. No, but like unless they're a code for how someone who is in the closet feels and reacts to the idea of being transgender. Like I think that's what makes it hit, and that's what makes it make sense for me. But when I think about it just as a TV show, and even like on a thematic level, having a strong relationship to a TV show and how media influences our lives and how we look back on TV and everything, like it feels like things don't quite tie together for me. I don't know. What do you have to say about this?
I tend to feel the same. I think in its structure, the movie makes a pretty strong statement about like getting your catharsis from shows or movies. You can't just like live vicariously through them forever. In just the fact that the movie totally fails to give you anything satisfying at the end. That feels like a condemnation of how Owen has related to the show, and sort of like it's maybe been his only connection to femininity.
But then also it's saying like you should have jumped into the show.
That's
you know what
the
I
thing,
mean?
right? Yeah. Okay.
It feels
so
like the trans reading and the kind of like media reading are kind of at odds. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, and I feel like I'm feeling increasingly complicated about this. My initial read was, yeah, don't get caught up in the spectacle, you have to live. But actually you kind of do, because so the show is where these two teenagers basically find any shred of truth in what is this like feverishly patriotic, totally vapid place.
Yeah.
There are flags everywhere. There are these insane fascist slogans in the hallway.
Oh my god, I love. I made a note to note all of them down watching
Me
this one.
too. Yeah.
Oh, like let's go. I think my favorite ones are courage. Without courage, all other virtues are weakness. There's so many of like winners never quit. To thine own self be true. And I love how they're all like. It reminds me of this is gonna be a deep cut, but like Friends of the Table podcast had like a whole thing about like the phrase of like, remember, you've beaten your worst days before, and how that can be like a thing that is really important to think about, and also can be co-opted by capital to make you just go out and keep working,
Like a hang in there kitty poster in the office.
Yes, and a lot of these feel like that. To thine own self be true. All this kind of stuff is like things that could, like, carpe diem are things that you could read as, okay, go be transgender, but also not, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like the only easy day was yesterday, but they are also the craziest one I think has got to be pain is weakness leaving the body.
And they give a lot of attention to that one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one lingers on screen way longer.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so all this paints a picture of what at face value is the real world, the
Mm-hmm.
part that is not in the pink opaque, um, as like hideous and like
Mm-hmm.
something worth escaping.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but of course, the TV show is literally a TV show, so it's hard to know what it really has to say about like the spectacle and our relationship to it. And
Yeah.
I felt very strongly about my initial letterboxed review, which if you don't mind, I'm gonna pull that up right now because my friend left a very interesting negative
Ooh,
review the other day that I wanted
interesting.
to.
I think while you're pulling that up, I'll just say, like, when I say that these two readings seem at odds, is that, like, if killing yourself to go into the pink opaque is to become transgender, then it's like, fuck yeah, you should do that, you know? And you need to kill your old self to live the life you want to live, And if killing yourself to jump into a TV show, if that's what that is, then like it feels like it's.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like maybe you shouldn't, and or like not even in a should or shouldn't way, but I think it like really, it's a very different. I don't know. I think there's like also part of it where like the world that they
Mm-hmm.
live in is constructed. Also, obviously, it is fake. A note that I made. I love that the movie is playing Transmorphers in his movie
Yeah,
theater, which is such a great little like things are off in this world type of
that's
thing.
fucking awesome.
Is so
Okay,
funny.
also the fact that I was talking about like how the show is not the real world, but also
Hmm.
Owen works at a movie theater in the quote unquote real world.
Yeah,
I mean, like there's no escaping
yeah.
this for him.
But yeah, so I think like it becomes a lot more complicated if the escape is to, kill the life that you have now, and if the escape is like media, right? I think that is a lot
Hmm.
more fraught than if the escape is to become transgender, in which case
Yeah.
I think pretty unequivocally, yippee.
Go off. Yeah, it feels like, well, okay. Jane Schoenbrunn, excellent director, I think, but also did like leave a corporate job to be a filmmaker and does maybe not have the
Mm.
basically none of their work so far really has a like a class angle to it.
Hmm. Hmm.
I
I mean,
I
they're
think
clearly friends with like, like Fred Durst and like Emma Stone, who like executive produced this movie, and like Phoebe Bridge. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
We
yeah,
can
totally.
we can gather things.
Totally. So like I feel like the media angle is not trying to speak to what relationship we should have to media. It is
Mm,
what relationship Jane Schoenbrunn had to media as a child and like
yeah,
what that meant to them,
yeah, yeah,
as like their connection to their true self.
yeah.
Which like I am about 20 years too young to relate to like watching Buffy when it was on as a 10 or 15-year-old,
Hmm.
but I have heard many times that this is a very common young queer person thing to get
Hmm.
attached to,
Hmm.
and there's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with that. Like on if we're just speaking not allegorically and not trying to make any sweeping statements,
Uh-huh.
there's nothing wrong with getting really into Buffy when you're 12. I think maybe it it breaks down on any closer read than that because that is
Hmm.
the extent of the statement they're trying to make, which is a
Hmm.
bummer for something about seeing the TV glow.
Yeah. Which remind me to come back to that, because I was also having a fun time watching again and being like, here are all the things that could be the TV glow. Um, like what the TV glow is, But yeah, no,
Mm,
I think I'm gonna say a couple things that are gonna be kind of contradictory to each other, but let's see if I can make it work.
contradictory is what I heard,
Hell
and I
yeah,
love it.
hell yeah.
All right, give us the goods.
So okay, I think that like the trans metaphor, if that's what the movie is a bit too one to one, you know. And I think it's funny, this is like a movie that is very concerned with David Lynch and Twin Peaks. Um,
Hmm.
the and it's funny, there are things that I was like debating how much to say, but about Twin Peaks: The Return, which is, well, okay.
Hmm.
The first of all, the bar that they go to to when Maddie gives Owen the whole speech about how she was in the Pink Opaque and there are Phoebe Bridgers and other gay people performing, and also that they are like just real life musicians, is something like that feels very much the Roadhouse from Twin Peaks, you know?
Oh.
Well, just
In
like
the sense
first,
that like Julie Cruz performs there? Or I've only
yes,
been there
oh,
once so
like
far in the show, I guess.
kind of the bar and like the whole red curtains and everything, but also I think okay, I'm giving you another sneak peek that Twin Peaks: The Return featured real life musicians performing at the Roadhouse
Okay.
in a way that was like, huh, that's interesting. There's just like, you know, just a like a musician that David Lynch likes is here now, you know? And I think the other thing was like, I really like in this movie how the final scenes at the fun center, like the color grading feels so different. It feels so much colder. Like it feels like there's a very real like
Yeah.
editing thing to make it feel like a kind of like miserable like Disney Plus like thing that as opposed to
That's
a like,
great.
you know, the kind of color of the 90s or whatever.
Yeah.
And that and I'm trying to be very vague because I think when it comes up it's going to be really fun, but that
Awesome.
idea is something that Twin Peaks: The Return is interested in. Leave that there.
Mm,
But
great. One quick note about the color thing, if I may. I
please,
won't get us
please.
distracted, but the cool color grading also works so well with the whole, well,
Oh,
first
is
of all,
blue?
like
Blue for
the
boy?
Luna Juice thing, blue for
Sure.
boy. But
Yeah.
what really hits for me is by this point, Owen is basically like slowly dying of asthma,
Oh,
and
that's fun. Yeah.
blue just makes like his skin look so
Yeah.
unwell, you know, in the like
Mhm.
the blue cast over everything. He, as someone who I've been writing about like going blue in the lips from my asthma before, and yeah, the blue thing just makes it feel like much less vitalized,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah. Which, yeah, that was another thing. There's like throughout the back, you know, he's wearing his fucking blue uniform shirt. Uh and like even like all of the various literal TV clothes that we see, it's only ever pink. Like when we see them it lighting characters, it is
Mm.
pink when we see them watching the Pink Opaque, and every other time it is like very, very blue.
Oh my
Uh
god, yeah.
yeah, which is like again, it's kind of like gender colors, but that's fun. But
That is fun. Sorry, you had another thing.
yeah, so this is something that is like apparently actually this movie was also partially inspired by a recurring dream that Jane Schronbrun had about the season 2
Ooh.
finale of Twin Peaks that you will never look up an interview about until we watch it. But
Ah.
I think there are things about that will, when we get there, we could do another little mini comeback to this and talk about it because I think it actually makes, I don't know, a lot to be said. But
Cool, cool.
I think that part of the Twin Peaks sauce to me is how it does not, and this is like David Lynch across the board, he loves to give you really powerful and affecting images that do not
Uh-huh.
necessarily have a one-to-one meaning. And
Mm.
sometimes he will then like give them a meaning and you can kind of decode things, and he'll come back and like go over this again. It's like, oh my god, this meant that. Whoa. But it is a lot about just kind of the dream like experience of it. And I think
Yeah.
that I think that this movie, I think it like all of the both in the first half, all of the like why are they acting this way and stuff, and a lot of like I do really like the whole like they get Luna juiced up sequence, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I think I'm gonna say I I think that was another moment where there was too much dialogue, honestly. I didn't need Mr. Melancholy to be like, you're gonna love this beautiful prison. I'm like, I get it, I get it, I get it, you know? Um,
Okay,
and I
although the
think
line "you won't even remember you're dying"
that's great. Yeah, no,
that
that
goes
one's great.
hard.
That one's great. And also, one thing I will say, for all I was saying about like how the kind of media analysis stuff doesn't necessarily line up, I did really like, did you notice how it was in like 4:3 ratio when it was showing all the stuff in the opaque, but then for that line it was in full like HD 69 like full screen
Oh
of
shit!
him.
And I believe Owen switched into
Yeah, it's
4:3
like
for a moment
closing
as
in on
well.
him, which is very fun.
Yeah, I love
But
aspect
so
ratios.
yeah, I love it. This is this is like I love words. I'm gonna say something very mean to you. I'm very sorry, but this is that fucking Elon Musk post of him looking at a formula and being like, so much contained in that wonderful formula. I love aspect ratios. Sorry.
Oh fuck. Oh
No, but
shit.
they're fun. But so I think that like when you apply this is about transgender, I think it all kind of explains itself and it all kind of clicks into place in a way that there's nothing left over for me to go, I don't know this. This is interesting. I'm sitting with it, you know?
Yeah.
So I say that as if it's too clean, but then I'm saying that I don't like how the media stuff doesn't feel like it lines all the way up, you know? Because then I'm like, it's too messy, and this is why what I'm saying is maybe contradictory because I'm like giving opposite things, but I think it's messy in a way where it just feels like it doesn't all the way come together for me. I think.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the like trans allegory stuff hits really, really hard effectively, but I think in terms of, I think that's kind of it. Is that analytically, I think it just all kind of clicks into place a bit too much for me, where I'm like, well, now we're done. And doesn't feel like there are mysteries left over to like live in my mind rent free. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I've been thinking about how this movie feels to watch more than I've been thinking about this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this is so there's a thing with the dialogue being very on the nose, and they will say things like twice or say things with more words than they need, and I feel like this is not entirely a failure of writing. It is also an aesthetic choice because it is based on 90s TV.
Yes, that is true. That is something I was thinking about, and even in the like speech that Mr. Melancholy gives there, like that is very, it is doing that. I agree.
But I'm wondering, I mean, I don't know. Honestly, this only bugs me in a few places. Like sometimes the movie will do something very smart in a subtle way and then call attention to it in a way that like I already kind of got it. You know, like with the time skips. The first time skip is 2 years, then 8 years, then 20 years, and like halfway through that, Maddie goes. Then I was 19. Then I was 20. Then I was 21.
Yeah.
Like chapters skipped over on a DVD.
Yeah.
Like I guess it's like chapters skipped over on it, but you can also skip over things that aren't DVDs. That just feels like a like reaching for continuing the metaphor.
Yeah.
And I really do, I can't entirely hate on that because the like vibes cohesion is the best part of this movie. But I don't know, it's like playing with artifice in a way that doesn't land in a way that Twin Peaks does. In like they lean into the soapy thing, this leans into the campy, the but CW thing.
Also doesn't lean it doesn't lean obviously nearly as hard as like Twin Peaks, right? Like I think that actually it's funny because I was saying like like the world that they live in is, you know, created by Mr. Melancholy or whatever, but I think that the performance and the like performances and the pacing and whatever, it feels very like late 2010s early 2020s prestige movie A24, you know what I mean? I think it doesn't go, it's not like in Twin Peaks when they're like, this is a soap opera scene, the way these people act is going to be insane for a minute, you know what I mean? I don't know, I'm like looking around, what is there a big category that you want to jump into next?
Let's see. I'm hearing, is it like drilling on your end?
Let me just close my window.
I want to talk. Oh God! Now I'm just thinking about the Elon Musk
I know,
formula
I'm so sorry.
thing.
No.
Maybe that'll get me to talk more normal. Because I'm like, let's talk about diegesis.
Sure.
So there is a bunch of stuff in the surface level reality of this movie that is like calling attention. This is a movie. This is fake. Something is up. Like the fact that it's called Void High School VHS.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, I'm glad you brought that up because there are a lot of things, little moments that are like, you know, obviously the whole thing at the end where it's saying like you are dying, it's all like, you know, everything is just very on the nose there. The fucking Marco and Polo like Mr. Melancholy attack arcade machine. I think another one that was kind of funny was the when we see, like, after the first little time skip to when we get the adult or like older teen, like Owen actor. They're at like the carnival, and there's a ride that's called Cliffhanger, which is very fun. Um,
Oh, that's
but
good.
I
I
don't
didn't
think Void
catch
High
that.
School does it for me. I think that one is too
Yeah.
cute. I think this is maybe again just like I've lived through the like Night Vale era of like the
Oh,
Void
wow.
hosting.
Throwback. We were
You know
into
what
the
I
Void.
mean?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Void had a good few years there. I
yeah,
indulged.
sure. And also again, calling it VHS, I think it's a bit too cute for me. I want to like
Yeah.
indulgence, but I think it's a bit too much.
No, I understand that. I do. Okay, and then one that I like more is the fact that they go to the double lunch bar where there is a double bill of bands like in the TV show, you know?
Yeah.
Um so it's like stuff like that. It is in one of the first scenes there is, you know, when they're in the gym to vote, there are like there's orchestra members like warming up on their horned
Yeah.
instruments, as also separately a song with prominent horns is playing, like that
Yeah.
kind of thing. That sort of, I
Hmm.
it's very for us, and it never goes acknowledged by Owen, right? Like
Yeah.
some of this stuff, I think if I went to Void High School, I would know something is up, you know? And that is not a CinemaSins ding. It's not even like a criticism. It's just interesting how much it is actually presented for us and not for Owen.
Yeah. Actually, I want to talk about the voting scene actually, because
Yeah.
um, I think okay, one when his mom is like, "It's time to vote for the saxophone man again." I kept expecting. I was like, "Do we see Mr. Melancholy with a saxophone at one point?" Because I'd believe it. Or is there like, am I making something up of like imagining that there's some like kind of popular advertising thing of like a moon guy playing a saxophone?
Oh, are you thinking of Mac Tonight?
Hold on, I'm googling. Um,
I feel like he played a saxophone. Um this is the Tonight Show themed mascot for McDonald's. I don't actually see a saxophone here.
fuck. Okay, wait,
Oh
hold
my
on.
god, he plays a saxophone. I'm so right.
I googled Mac Tonight. It did not see a saxophone, and now I googled Mac Tonight saxophone, and I am seeing him. But that's but. Okay, wait. He was known for his crescent moon head, sunglasses, and piano playing. Anyway, but yeah, I was like, well, and also I thought that was the other thing about that scene is the way that it's like, the presentation is like the mom went in to vote, but then she says like, come on, go, and like makes him kind of run his fingers over the like voting card as if he's
Yeah.
voting.
Yeah, I think I this was super intriguing for me, and this is actually maybe something, if we want to, like, things to properly chew on,
Yeah.
it feels like he's connecting to it like a Ouija board. That's how he's touching it,
Ooh, yeah.
you know? And it's almost like she trusts him to do this because she sees like some special, maybe mystical thing in him.
Well, it also feels very like we need to inculcate you and indoctrinate you into American society in this way, like in a way that I think, like, part of the like gender conformity is also the kind of like patriotics conformity,
Yep,
um
absolutely.
and it's funny that actually I have another thing I could go on there, but did you have more to chew or to say about like just this as is?
No, I don't think so. I would, if you want to talk about the patriotism stuff, I would love to.
Well, because okay, it's not directly that, but I think, like after we saw this movie, and we were talking with our friends. Like one of the things we were talking about is the having our protagonist be black, and the movie is very much about this like suburban queer, uh, like it to say it bluntly, and I don't know if how this was, but it feels like Jane Schoenbrun wrote a wrote a script about their experience as a white, or not their experience, but you know what I mean, a kind of like, assumed white kind of suburban teenage experience, and
Hmm.
then cast what's the actor's name?
Justice Smith.
Justice Smith, for the role. And
Right.
I feel like, I think, okay, I will say there is, I think, the as far as like Jane Schoenbrunn, this is something that's in World's Fair too, like loves a off-screen or barely on-screen ominous dad who is like enforcing like, patriarchy. And I think the Fred Durst, which is again kind of a crazy cameo.
That's fucking awesome. There's so many good cameos in this
Yeah.
movie, and I don't usually care for them.
I gotta say, Connor O'Malley really
Yes.
showed up. And as far as like a guy to like be going crazy for some kid's birthday, and like be like, hey, come on, don't you want to be straight, Owen?
Oh my god.
A stunt like. As far as like semi stunt cast, they got the right guy. But so I think like the presence of the like domineering, implicitly abusive white father to a black kid is like, that feels very intentional, right? Like that is definitely doing things. But like we're talking about gender, and I think that it does not really feel, and again, who what the fuck do we know, but like it doesn't feel like a movie that is trying to say things about the experience of being racialized in the suburbs in the way that it's about being transgender, you know what I mean?
I think you're right, because Owen moves through the world like invisible, not acted upon, not doing anything, and that is not what the fuck do we know? But I like that is a closeted white girl thing. Like my initial thought was like, yeah, I bet being black in the suburbs would be very alienating. But it wouldn't just be alienating. I can't imagine. Like there's more that could have been engaged with there, I'm sure.
Well, and it's like, I think it's kind of like, I don't, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't think that this, all movies decide what they're about, and like, it's not like what the movie needed was to have like anti-black racism happen to the character, right?
No,
neither of us feel that way, but like I think that it does. I don't know, I do get that sense about it, and that is something that is a bit of like a splinter, but I do think that there is like, I do think that certainly does connect to a degree to how much it feels like it is like in this voting scene, like being like, you have to participate in this American tradition of voting as a like 12-year-old or whatever. Like you need to. I think if there's something there, it is about the like, in the same way that Owen has to erase like her transness. I think there is also a like, you are a like mixed black kid in the suburb. It's time to act American and to act white and to capital V vote and like participate in these things in this way, So like that's there.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I think that pays off in a satisfying way with the ending also.
Tell me more.
Sure. So I mean, it's not just that Owen never transitions or never like enters the pink opaque. It's that he stays in his family's house. It's that he flies an American flag. He buys a fancy new TV while bragging about his life, and he says that he has his own family. Loves,
and we never see them is so good.
We never see them, and I think he's lying, personally. But so I think that is. By the end, I feel like with the exception of like when he screams, he is completely like replaced himself with this patriotic like shell sort of. He accepts the nationalism. That is the same thing. He says this life that he's dooming himself to is about becoming a real man.
And then a productive member of society.
Yes, same thing.
Yeah.
Maybe there could have been something there. Oh, yeah. Also, the fact that Owen starts as a black kid who is not evidently biracial, and then when Justice Smith like steps into the role is visibly biracial. I've heard like a lot of black viewers on Twitter saying like, hey, that was weird and jarring.
Yeah,
right? That was like a strange casting choice.
Yeah, that is not one that had scanned for me, but that makes sense. Yeah,
they don't really look much like each other, the young Owen and the adult Owen, although both are great actors.
Yeah, no, that is very true. I think it was about the dress. just this is not quite on this thing, but
Sure.
because this is I think another thing that is like I think closeted person puts on dress and like steps out to reveal dress is like very is like top 3 like we have a young transgender person type of things to do. And I think in that sense that is like also in line with the ways that I'm like we could have got a bit more like creative or unorthodox or whatever in how we present this. But I do have to give it credit again that it did make me go like, damn, it did hit me emotionally. I think like it's the kind of thing where like now, I was a very like dissociated white kid in this. I mean, NDG is like kind of a suburb. I think it's
funny, we talk about it so differently, the two of us.
Really? How do you mean?
Well, just like you grew up in more like the single family home bit, and I grew up in more like the big apartment complex bit.
Yeah. I mean, yes.
I thought of myself as someone who was like totally unlike the people in the suburbs, even though I was like a 20-minute walk from them.
I mean, I think
anyway, you go.
I think again, just for our little like Montreal heads minute, I think NDG is like I think something that is true about it as a neighborhood is that it is like it feels very both a suburb and not a suburb in these ways, But I certainly grew up on the like dead end street, like a semi-detached homes area, and like I was the dissociated kid, and I had one dress in my closet that I would sometimes put on and go like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like I think in that capacity, like I think that like it is a very common image, but it's also often a common image in like cis-directed things that don't really hit. And I do have to give it credit, it did just hit emotionally in that way of being like, oh, we have seen you be so locked up and so like hi, and you are actually having a moment of like that shell breaking, in this. And like that part hit. But yeah, I think it is still a like stock image, and also like a stock image that feels probably more related, like it feels more like connected to like white queer experiences or like storytelling or whatever than like being a black closeted trans woman, which again neither of us know, but it does at the very least I think we can identify it as like it feels white.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's not that I think the character, should have been white in keeping with that. I would love if they had just brought on one of the many transgender woman writers of color who exist. Just have them do a pass through, just have a conversation. Actually, I wanted to shout out, I read the special thanks in the credits, and there's special thanks to Casey Plett and Torrey Peters.
Oh, that's fun. That makes sense.
Yeah. Torrey Peters also Torrey Peters also a trans woman writer who's been criticized for her writing of characters of color. Yeah. And also has, I think, the similar shortcoming of like not thinking about class and not being the exact type of communist that I am. That's my criticism. I've been reading
the worst Friends and crime there is.
I've been reading their novella from I don't know sometime in the 2010s, and it is both.
Torrey Peters isn't they them, is she?
Did I say they?
Yeah, you just fucking they them Torrey Peters.
Oh, I thought I said the.
Maybe you did say the.
We
either
will know
way,
in the edit.
You're fucking canceled.
Play a
Get
huge
her
alarm
ass.
right now.
I'm not cutting this one out.
Oh my god. Oh, this is gonna haunt me forever. And I won't even know because I'm gonna forget to go back and listen to this bit.
Yeah, but sorry, I didn't mean to cut Lily off. They were saying something great.
Fuck you.
I'm sorry. As soon as I said it, I was like, no.
You could never they me. Oh, you've they'd me lost them.
Okay, where the fuck were we? We were talking about the special thanks Torrey Peters. Yeah, I mean, I think definitely the weakest part of Detransition Baby was like being like, "Hello, I'm Torrey Peters. It's time to write about what it's like to be Asian." You know?
Yeah. Once again, using a biracial character as well. I mean, I really, it's not really my place to speculate on why, but you can see how maybe someone would feel like that gives them license to not talk delicately or thoughtfully about
Sure.
race. Also, in the end credits, just as we transition into something, special thanks to NASA
Oh
slash
my
U.S.
god.
Army Corps of Engineers.
Oh wow. Okay, wait.
Boo. I assume they lent the production the planetarium thing.
Oh, probably. I mean, yeah, I know this is famously like if you use any like US like military equipment, which is how, or I guess NASA would be. Yeah, that's very funny though.
Yeah.
Um let's see here. This is just a little note that I had. How did you feel about the narration as like a thing? Cuz when we first saw it, I was pretty down on the narration.
Oh, yeah?
I think I felt, but I think that's one of the things that I liked more on the second watch. I think that it felt on the first watch to me kind of symbolic for like the too on the noseness. I think like especially
Oh.
some of the narration over the like Mr. Melancholy sequence. I was kind of like, if you just showed me the sequence with no narration and I had to piece together what was happening, I might like it more, you know? But again, I actually am warmer on it. I think because partially it is like affecting this kind of like 90s TV show type of narration, and I think the ways that we see like diegetically Owen like watching something while narrating like what's happening on the show is actually like really fun. I
Yeah.
think I warmed to it. I don't know. Did you have any thoughts? And like there is obviously the whole line where like Maddie's like, "Do you ever feel like you're narrating your own life?" You know?
Oh, yeah, that totally did happen. Um, I quite like the narration. I feel like it is very selective. It
Mm-hmm.
is, it comes in. I like that Owen looks straight at us and says it to us, the viewer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's never more than a few lines long, or at least not often, and so it tends to be like more economical than some of the other conversations.
Yeah, I agree. I think I warmed to it, and I think even just
Yeah,
things of being like having the narration say like she started leaving tapes for me is like a useful shortcut. I think, which I want to talk about that sequence actually when
please.
like after Owen says that Maddie was leaving tapes, which is also kind of fun. It's like in the show how they say they only met like in person in the pilot, and then they were just communicating psychically while battling
Yeah.
monsters all around the county, which is a great bit. Um, is like that we see the the sequence of Owen like walking through the hallway. I think this is when we get the like, wow, I'm walking through this white and black hallway, and on one side the window is all pink, and on the other side it's all blue. Does that make you think of anything? But and this is also when we get a lot of the like most like insane. We see most of the like insane like wall slogans, and we have like overlaid as if kind of like written in like pink like Sharpie or whatever on the screen a
Yeah.
bunch of like episode descriptions and like communications between the two of them. The implication being that these are like notes that I think are left with the tapes and like descriptions of what's happening in the
Yeah.
show. But I think
Yeah.
it was also really fun because it's like this is kind of like they're communicating psychically, right? And in a sense they are, in that we can surmise that they're leaving notes, but again like we just know that in the sense of like the show is about these two girls who met once and then communicated psychically while battling monsters across the county. And I think it is fun that they have their one meeting when they watch the show together and then are just communicating through this tape, and like their messages that
Yeah.
are only portrayed to us as like writing on the screen, which is basically psychic.
Hmm.
I don't
I
know.
like that a lot. I
Yeah.
like that we see them before Maddie disappears. They're they have like something like three conversations, four
Yeah.
conversations, I think. Um, and nonetheless, it is just like clearly a very profound and meaningful relationship for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like the idea that they have totally built this thing up in their heads as like so important that it needs to be guarded and protected, even though that
Mm-hmm.
is kind of sad.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely get that. And yeah, just like honestly, the grown up queer stuff in this movie really does it for me. Like that is all
Mm-hmm.
generally very affecting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that scene. It's a long scene because they want to give the song
Yeah,
the full
yeah.
runtime.
But I
Um,
like it, and like I think I was, and I still do kind of feel like, just despite all of me saying like that, their like just interpersonal relationship stuff around the show, I think it kind of needs to be propped up by the being an allegory about transness to really land. But I do think that like this is something else we talked about like right after we saw it, is like Schoenbrunn loves to really zoom in on a part, like the particular thing that they want their movie to be about. Like World's Fair is
mm-hmm.
very zoomed in. Like you basically never you never see the protagonist when they're not filming or kind of moving in between. Like, you know what I mean? Like you don't see their life. They don't really ever interact with another person, even on screen, barely, if
Yeah.
at all. Question mark.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like
A little
similarly,
bit with their dad, yeah.
yeah, but we never even see him, right? It's just like spoke anyway. But like,
Right.
um, I think that for as much as I think I wanted a bit more about their relationship and their relationship to the show, just like as is, like if I'm just watching the first half of this movie and I'm not thinking about how the show is their actual real life that they're suffocating from, I think I wanted a bit more to chew onto about why they care about the show if I'm just thinking about them as teenagers watching a
Sure.
show together.
Yeah. Oh, can I shout out one thing that really hit on that front?
Sure, yeah. Well, I guess I guess I'll just say like I wanted a bit more of that, but I think it is very still like I think that Schoenbrun's strength at like being very economical and having
Mm-hmm.
a very like a zoomed in thing and really establishing the just like the affect between them, and just like using stuff like this walking scene and with these kind of the scribbles to communicate the passing of time and like how they're communicating and like the and all that.
It's
I think it is
true.
really, I think it that stuff is like is very impressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was the thing that hit for you?
Yeah, thanks for shouting that out. This is the second sleepover before Maddie tells Owen that she's going to be leaving town.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're sat watching it together, and Tara, the sort of Maddie analog, is kind of like walks in looking super butch, carrying a baseball bat,
Uh-huh.
goes, Estee Lauder called. They something like they have some feedback on your whole look.
Yeah, to fucking
And
Bozo the clown.
yeah, and then just starts beating the shit out of Bozo the clown, and it is so cathartic for Maddie. Maddie
Mm-hmm.
just sobs at it, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like actually this is all I needed to understand what it does for Maddie. This is
Mm-hmm.
like, oh yeah, that guy getting beat up, that's your dad.
Yeah. 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 No, that is true, and that is good. I think it was like I think it was more Owen, I guess. And I think this is again kind of
Yeah.
I think this is kind of the struggle of writing a character whose defining trait is being kind of like dissociated and removed, is that it makes it a lot harder to ping the kind of like a classic screenwriting thing of like giving like a motive, just like it's like giving them a motivation, right? If their
Yeah.
defining trait is being alienated from their own motivations. Um, but yeah,
That's true, but I think there is like a set of motivations that kind of signal dissociation. Like maybe Owen just finds the show
yeah,
really comforting, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
it's just something that they watch it over and over as like a sort of repetitive like ritually thing. But you're right. They don't talk about why they like the show. We can speculate, but
hmm
I would have liked to see a little bit of it at least.
yeah. And again, maybe that is something that is. I say that, and then if they did spell it out, I'd be like, "Well, I don't want it spelled out." So
Yeah,
maybe I'm just a
totally.
bit. But
Uh,
but yeah, I don't know. Did you have other anything else jumping out at you?
hmm. Um. Oh, can we talk about the double lunch? Can we talk about
Yes,
the musical guests?
yes.
So first up we have uh I forget what the band's called. Do you remember? It's Phoebe Bridgers' former band. It's plain Sloppy
Sloppy
Jane
Jane.
is what it's called.
Yeah.
Sloppy Jane, not Plain Jane, the RuPaul's Drag Race runner-up. So Sloppy Jane
God,
plays this.
sorry. I think so
Uh-huh.
much. I was thinking last night about how the first time that Maya showed me Drag Race, I
Uh-huh.
saw Ross Matthews and thought for a second that it was Paulie from The Sopranos. I was just thinking
Oh,
about
that's
that
fucking
last night.
funny.
It was such a fucking Butch moment of me. That shit's so funny. Because the thing is, I think when, like, from a distance and mid laughing, it kind of looks like Polly Walnuts from The Sopranos, but I was just like, why the fuck is Polly from The Sopranos on Drag Race? Anyway, sorry.
Oh, that's really funny. I just started watching The Sopranos, actually.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah, really digging it. Watching it with Vic.
Oh fuck yeah, it's great. It's one of my favorite shows.
Good show. Anyway, yeah, so the musical
Yes.
people. First act is Sloppy Jane, second act is King Womb Man. Good for him. What do you think?
Wait, is it actually spelled woman? I thought it was just like woman, or were you just having
No,
fun?
I was just
You were
goofing.
just having fun. Although King Womb Man would go kind of hard. But
I know a couple.
yeah.
Bless them.
I think because of how much it is something that shows up in Twin Peaks The Return, that was like my first big thing. I think it's interesting that Maddie introduces it as like, I know a spot at the edge of town. It feels like it feels liminal. But like it does feel like
Yeah.
a space in between the Midnight Realm. And like, you know, if I said earlier the Midnight Realm is a place where you're not allowed to be gay, here it is. It's the gay bar. Fucking Phoebe Bridgers and King Woman is here. You know what I mean?
Totally, that's very true.
Yeah, I think like I feel like it's, and like thinking even about Twin Peaks and like, oh, red curtains, like it's hard to not think about the Red Room in Twin Peaks, which feels like a space in between like spirit. It's like a place in between spirit world and like human world, you know. It feels like it is like this is the place that she had to bring Owen to then be able to leave, you know.
Yeah. That's cool.
What did you think about Double Lunch and the musical interlude?
So, unfortunately, I feel like the first song is kind of boring. It is like the lyrics are super on theme and like quite interesting.
I saw the TV glow.
Oh my god, I didn't even notice that.
Oh yeah, they say it. Yeah.
But it does some work sort of expanding like the metaphor. The like, what is it? I paint my ceiling black so I don't notice if my eyes are open. Yeah, that's on point. Here for it. But the actual song is just very like tuned down.
Yeah.
There's no rhythm to it. There are only like a couple moments that get sort of musically interesting, and
it's a Phoebe Bridgers song.
I actually really quite like her, and I think she could have. I think they could have done better.
I'm a bit of like my relationship to Phoebe Bridgers is sometimes I'll put it on and I'll be like, she hits a lot of notes that I happen to be weak for, but I think I am a bit of a Phoebe Bridgers hater. I think she's mid.
A bit of a hater.
Not like a hater. I think Phoebe Bridgers. That one post about like what's the fucking name of the Euphoria guy?
Sam Levinson, is it?
You know, like it was like the post of like Sam Levinson wants to be so and so wants to be John Waters. John Waters wants to be the Hamburglar. I feel that way. I think that Phoebe Bridgers wants to be Mitski. Is how I feel,
totally
and I think I'm only a hater to the degree that they can get grouped together, and I'm like, no, you guys. Phoebe Bridgers is an okay indie artist, who stuff is fine, and I think Mitski is like, people need to talk about Mitski the way they talk about Kate Bush. You know what I mean? That's how I feel.
Yeah.
But
no, I am totally with you. I think, however, there is just such a massive amount of like samey, sort of sloggy, joyless indie that like for me, Phoebe is still like well above average, you know? I would put her like 80th percentile if Mitski is like cream of the crop.
But yeah, so now that we've got the part of the podcast where we grade women out of the way.
They all get 10s. All 10.
Yay! All women are queens, win. Anakin. So okay, but you didn't love the song. How did you feel about the other one?
I liked it more. I thought it was more, well, just more interesting, really.
Yeah.
The screamed vocals, feeling like a psychic wound, feeling like a psychic wound.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Go off. I liked the spiky hairstyle that looked a little bit probably entirely unintentionally a Statue of Liberty-esque.
Oh, that's fun.
I just thought it was like more interestingly directed. Like it felt like a like concert video where the previous performance maybe just like didn't know what it was. Yeah, and it starts at the perfect moment when we get this like, oh shit, it's getting real realization, or like the sort of repressed epiphany for Owen, you know? Which like if the music hadn't been there, maybe it would have been a little more ambiguous or more like less believable. I think with it there, it's dropping the beat. You know, it's you were talking about how Umineko is a novel that can drop the beat.
Yeah.
It is doing that to signal like, listen up, folks. And you know, actually, now that I think of it, I think it would have been very cool if the movie left it a little more ambiguous whether Maddie was like right about this. I would have loved it if there was sort of, if that was something that was obscured. But as it is, yeah, I think King Woman here, I think they hit. They're like challenging my prejudice against all these fucking bands called King Princess, Sir Baby Girl, Soccer Mommy. I've never listened to any of them.
It's so funny.
Because of the names. I just assume they are all the same kind of mediocre thing. But
and King Princess has definitely, I think, sullied the name of the rest of them. I've listened to some Sir Baby Girl, and I thought it was fun. I think it is unfortunate the extent to which King Princess was, I think, probably the most popular one for a time at least, and I think is the worst.
Bummer. I've never bothered to listen because that fucking this record is gonna be a thick queen. That fucking meme like just completely killed any chance of me getting into it.
It's so funny.
And like just really quick, I'm so happy that we have a lesbian pop star now who's like letting herself have fun. And well, okay, she is also a little bit cringe, but I don't know.
But in a different way. We're talking about Miss Roan, I presume.
We are talking about Miss Roan. I mean, she has some lines that are genuinely cringe. Like,
yes.
I heard you like magic. I got a wand and a rabbit.
That one is so funny. I think one of the biggest aesthetic differences between me and Mya is I'm like, it's too corny, and Maya's like, sometimes femmes are allowed to. I think yeah, it's so funny. And I think even like musically, like I feel like the point this is just the Chapel Roan corner, but like I think the point at which the Chapel Roan music lands the least for me is when it's like sometimes musically like very normie pop. Like people compare it to Lady Gaga, and I think that is also true in production, where sometimes it's just like, this sounds like a normie ass 2011 pop song, you know?
We're talking Chapel Roan?
Yeah, some of them, you know? I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm being a bit of a little freak, but I think there's just like, it's hard to quite put my finger on what, because I'm not a musician, but I feel like, you know, the production of some Chapel Roan songs compared, you know what I mean? Like the fucking, I think, it's not fucking 100 gex or some shit, you know what I mean?
It's not experimental, for sure. It's not like pushing the envelope. But I mean, if we're comparing her to Lady Gaga 2011, that's actually huge praise.
Oh, well, that's the thing. I guess I'm just saying, I was like throwing out a thing, but like, I think that Chapel Roan can be cringe, but I think that she is, I take her cringe any day over, certainly over King Princess, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, anyway, should we fucking talk about
the movie? The movie that we're here to talk about?
Yeah.
I feel like there must be other lesbians we can criticize.
Okay,
let's talk about the other boy geniuses.
Oh, sure. I mean, okay, I think Lucy Dacus takes the show. Easily.
I definitely thought so until her last album came out.
That's true. That's true. The last
I don't
album,
know.
I think Historian
Historian was
takes the
amazing,
shot.
though.
I think Historian is a no skips for me. I think like Historian is like,
Yeah,
that's fucking rock and roll, you know?
I agree. I totally agree. That is like the best version of itself.
Yeah.
It fucking there are like some sick actual guitar solos.
Yeah, I know, right? Like it hits the like I never want to see my ex again. But then it also like there
Yeah.
are bits on that where it's hitting the fucking like banow, banow, and I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
rock and roll,
And there's
baby.
the song, what is it? Not Pillar of Truth, but just like actually most songs have a very strong like individual identity.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. But it's
so
true.
like
The
Addictions is about a very specific thing. Pillar
Yeah.
of Truth is, what were you gonna say?
I was just saying that it is true that Home Video, is that what it was called? Home Video, the second one?
Home Video.
Yeah, it didn't do it as much for me. I felt that one was more like some of the songs I'm like, yeah, and some of them I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it felt like maybe a little soft girl for me, like a little too tenderly reminiscing on
Mm,
being 14 and gay. And like, I think there's so much good art about that time in your life. And this one just like,
yeah.
it didn't feel like she had that much to say other than like we were Christian and
Yeah.
gay, and that was kind of sad.
I do really like I forget which song it is, but the one that features like I was crawling in the dog door, I'm just a dog for you type lesbian stuff, because I'm like, hey,
Ooh.
can't go wrong with that. But I think the favorite I think the strongest is Thumbs, the one of that's like I'm meeting my girlfriend's awful shitty dad and I want to kill him.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I think that one's
Yeah.
I think that one's great. I think that one is
Mhm.
the and I never really spent much time with
With old JB.
yeah, I think I was listening to her stuff. Her still, is that still true?
I think so.
Yeah, because I listened
I
to
think she has-
Sprained Ankle, but I never
That was
really,
like
there were
a
two
YouTube
other ones.
recommendations classic.
Oh sure, yeah, I never listened to the other two. What do you have to say about them?
Maybe a little. I haven't listened to
I feel like I really called your bluff on on having the boy genius corner.
No, I appreciate this. I'm just making sure I've listened to all her albums, and I have actually. Yeah, and I don't know. So Sprained Ankle, her debut, was like a veritable moment. It was like it was very beloved when it came out.
Yeah.
It found me at a great time when I was just like very purely sad,
Mm-hmm.
and I just wanted to wallow. And so I listened to it a lot in that time when I was like 16 or so.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, I don't think she has like pulled much else out of her hat. You know?
Sure.
I see this, but I see that her new album is apparently encompasses indie rock, alt rock, emo, soft rock, electronic, pop punk, post rock, country, shoegaze, and slowcore. That is okay. That is
It's a lot to
3
encompass.
genres in 12 trench coats. But
yeah.
but maybe I need to give her another shot.
You know who I really like who was in TV Glow? Frances Quinlan.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm such a fan. I'm
Yeah.
such a fan of Frances Quinlan. Apparently Hop Along is no more.
Yeah.
It has not been announced, but that is the feeling people are getting.
Yeah.
And that's a bummer for me. I never got to see them live.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I
for
really
so long.
like their solo album.
It just hasn't clicked for me. I really wish it would.
Yeah.
But Frances's song on the soundtrack is killer.
Yeah, it's great.
It's such a good way to end the movie.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this actually I am segueing us back effectively, because something that I was thinking, and I think our talk about all these musicians will illustrate this, is that I do think it is worth noting how the musicians and like I think there's a lot of queer people around this movie, but there aren't actually very many like trans women involved in the like, you know what I mean? Like we got Phoebe Bridgers in here, but you know what I mean? Like I think, and this is like maybe connect, like I was thinking about this because of the whole like I'm like learning about trans femininity through this like non-trans feminine dyke, which like that happens, you know, many such cases, right?
Oh yeah.
But
Been there.
but yeah, I don't know. I think it is noticeable how a lot of the queer people in like the musicians and like you know, like I don't know, there's like not really, and I think this also maybe makes sense just in the sense of that this is a movie about being isolated and not seeing another trans woman ever.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking, like, should Isabel in the show have been trans? And I don't think so,
Yeah,
personally.
yeah. But even just like, I don't know, I think like, eh, and again, maybe this is intentional, maybe it is just reflective of like, I don't know. I mean, just any number of things, whether that's just like, generally trans women are in less things, or just like Jane Jernbrand's like, people that Jane Jernbrand like got on board. But it would have been, I think it would
Yeah.
have hit very differently if there was a trans woman performing at that scene at the double lunch.
Oh, that
Like
would have
that would
been
have
cool. Or,
that would have hit very differently, and it feels
yeah.
uh like it's not like I feel, I don't think I'm like, well, there should be, because I think I'm not really as attached to like just kind of strict representational stuff in that way, but I think that I probably would have liked it more if there was,
Sure. Or honestly, I don't even need it to have been a trans woman, but just like an outwardly like gender
Sure,
nonconforming
sure,
person
sure.
in the way that Owen could be.
Yes.
I would
Yeah.
take a fucking drag queen, honestly.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's like, even, like I say trans woman because I think that's I am a trans woman, even though I'm having fun with it, and like similarly, I think that makes me use that kind of expansively, because I don't know, like Jane Schoenbrunn uses they them. I don't know if Jane Schoenbrunn would call themselves a trans woman, but when I
Yeah, they
say,
do.
okay, well, slay, but if they were like, I'm, a trans feminine non-binary person, to me, when I say trans woman, I'm kind of encompassing. But yeah, in any case,
People in the life.
yeah, so true. All that aside, a couple other things. So I want to talk about the ending, and
Hmm.
the before we started recording, you kind of laughed at my note of the ending of just, is this bottom surgery? But I don't know, because so the scene, obviously, Owen has the big breakdown, and then is yelling, which is great. I love that moment, the way everyone just kind of like goes into like sleep mode,
Mm.
and
Yeah, that was cool. That was very cool.
then it goes to the men's room and like slices his like chest open to reveal that inside is the TV glow, as it were. And it's like, it's funny, when we saw that the first time in theaters, I really felt like, oh, is this him finally doing it? Like, is this the I'm cutting myself open and I'm getting out of the
Yeah.
shell, Which I think does make the next scene, the actual final scene of he puts the shirt back on and goes out and is like, sorry about that, everybody, like, so much more brutal,
Yeah, fuck.
Like, it feels
Absolutely.
hopeful for a moment. And I think, I say that because like the it is a very, kind of the vagina type shape of like classic kind of oval whatever, like that is cut in on his
Hmm.
chest,
Yep.
and like, even speaking strictly in the kind of lore, like in movie lore, like seeing like, oh, it is true that I'm full of a Luna juice, and that I'm not a person in here, and like, I don't know, I think it really hits the rotten egg. Like, Owen is given so many moments to escape, like
Yeah,
they're
my God.
like the kind, the movie is kind of two upswells of plot action. Both of the plot actions are Maddie saying, we need to leave, come with me, and Owen going, no, you know and
Yep.
like, I think there's the plausible deniability of like, I'm this girl isn't going to convince me to get buried alive. That's not real, which I think, we know, and he knows that it is. But
Yeah, I
I
think he
think
does.
even at the end, like being like, you have cut yourself open and seen the like proof that you are a transness metaphor, and you are still going, oh God, I no, I'm not, and I'm like,
I just
I'm
can't
gonna
do it.
continue living the life because I just can't do it. Is fuck it hits. That fucking hits. I think, like,
Yeah.
honestly, like,
Yes,
when I keep
absolutely.
saying about like how it made me sob in the theater, I think it is really like, I'm sure it would also really hit me if I was like pre or very shortly post transition, but like, it really hit me into
Yeah.
like, thank God I fucking
Holy
did
shit,
that. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it's so much more bleak, but also so important, because I think people who, like, people who do stay in the closet, and I don't say this like judgmentally, but like, I think there is often the like, you get to a point where you do know that you would be happier, but you're just like, I can't do it, you know, like you do see the fucking TV glow, you know? And I don't know, but like
Yeah.
this, I think in terms of like for all this criticism, I think like the point that the movie really hit me emotionally is like it is such it does do such a good job at capturing the bleakness of like 20 years later, you know, and it really hits,
Hmm.
you know, like I think there's a lot of this kind of stuff that can like, you know, Nevada really hit when I was like in my like, oh god, am I transgender phase, in a way that it wouldn't really hit now, you know. But I think it is a
Yeah, I
testament
agree.
to this movie that it, you know, evidently does hit to people who are at that point, because many, you know, many people have attested to this, but like it also
Hmm.
did really hit emotionally for me because of how much it is like, man, I can it is a reflection of the life that I could have lived if I had buried the part of myself that needed to be transgender, and like,
My God, yeah.
damn, that would have fucking sucked. Like, thank God.
This is, yeah. This is something I kind of carry around a lot because, okay, I hope this isn't indelicate, but um, especially when I had like shortly after I came out as a like 16-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
I had many acquaintances come out
Mm.
to me privately as also a
Oof.
trans woman,
Yeah.
and none of them have come out like publicly. And that was in 2016, you know, just
Mm-hmm.
like, and so I'm still in touch with a couple of them, and I will check in and not push anything, but wonder and worry, and man, I don't know. It just like I have to wonder how this movie would feel for them, or
Yeah.
just generally how they're doing these days, having accepted this thing about themselves so long ago and not being in a position to do anything about it.
Well, it's because it's funny. I really like. I think something that is, and like I was saying, how like right up to the last scene, I was like, oh, is this a hopeful ending? Because I think it's so like it is doing all this, and it's still, you know, famously it has the fucking like there is still time, you know, like we never
Yeah.
see Owen die, you know, from strangling to
Hmm.
death on the dirt and Luna juice or whatever. But like I think the movie both really believes in that Owen has kept refusing and has kept being too cowardly, or like cowardly is judgmental, but you know what I mean, like being unable to do it,
Yeah.
and also believes that he could if he did, you know, like even in this, in how much like, you know, when Owen sticks his head in the TV, like the dad does descend forcefully to like pull him out of it, and there is a sense of like this is the agents of Mr. Melancholy like forcibly stopping you from leaving this realm and transitioning. But like when he goes to meet up with Maddie, he sees like the two guys that were like smoking, who I think are actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think are also from a, it's like the Adventures of Pete and Pete, which I never saw, but is like a was like
Yeah.
a 90s like uh,
It
show.
was a coming of age sort of surreal.
Yeah. Did you
I'm
ever
thinking of
watch it? I
watching it
never did.
actually. I never even heard of it until this movie came out,
Yeah,
but I'm
same.
thinking it might be up my alley.
But yeah, so I think but I love that how they're standing there so like as if they're on guard, like guarding, you know, being like we are watching you to dissuade you from this, but no one stops him from going. What stops him is the like psychological, you know, the feeling that you can't, you know. And I think that
Yeah.
there is hope in how bleak the ending is, in a way. You know what I mean?
Oh, how do you? What's the hope?
I think that there is still time. And I think that, like, if after the credits roll, Owen is like, okay, no, I am doing this, I think that she would and could, you know?
Hmm.
Like, I think
That I
that,
agree.
like, I think that the movie is very committed to the bleakness of portraying someone who doesn't. But I think that it also, the fact that right up until the end, it makes you think that he would. It's to me, like I really watching that scene was like, oh, is this him doing it? Is it going to slice all the way open and then wake up and have, you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
and the there is still time, you know, like I think it is, it believes really strongly that there isn't a, you know, like it obviously is hitting all the time is running out, but it never shows us time has run out, you know. I think it,
No, you're right.
and even It was
That would have been brutal.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, like, even there's something about I noticed in the beginning when he says, like, like last night I couldn't sleep, so I started rewatching my favorite show, The Pink Opaque, and then he's just staring at the fire, which is very fun because I was like, there's another thing that I
Right.
was like, oh, it's like the, what is the TV glow? Is it when it was burning? Um, and then obviously, like later on,
Oh
he puts
yeah.
out the fire, which is again very, it's an easy symbol to kind of, but and
And
he's.
about
Oh, go ahead.
we see the fire sort of like spectrally reflected above itself. Like
Yes.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
bit of a ghostly thing too.
Yes, I did notice that, and it's ghostly in the same way that when he's kind of falling asleep in the basement, we see the little glow, Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so even that, and I think at that point when he's narrating, he is like through. He's like, that is in the 20 years later era. It feels like,
I was trying to figure that out.
I
Yeah.
think so because that's when he says like, I started watching The Pink Opaque again, but it wasn't the same because it's on streaming now and whatever.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
But and I think it seems like where the fire is kind of like a camp, like a sleepaway camp type of thing, where famously in the show is where the two girls meet each other, right?
Mm.
Which is also, that's got to be on purpose because of Sleepaway Camp, the movie featuring transgender.
Oh my god, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Huh.
yeah. So I think just like the fact that in that moment he has gone to the place where he could theoretically, psychically convene with Maddie slash Tara, and is
Mhm.
seeing this kind of spectral reflection of the possibility, which is how I kind of read that. I feel like that's like seeing when when he sees the glow in the basement,
Yeah, I think you're
you
right.
know? Like I think that we see him turn it down over and over and put the fire out and refuse, but the the door keeps being open to him, and I think that is the
Yeah.
tragedy, but I think it is also the sliver of hope.
Hmm. I very much appreciate that. Huh. Yeah, there is hope, but only if you actually do it. It's not
Yeah.
that there is anything positive in this life. It's not that you're going to be okay if you don't.
Like there is still time, but you do need to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like it is never too late,
exactly.
but or even I don't know, it's funny. I made one of my notes was like when he's narrating that he's like, "Oh, I kept waiting for Maddie to come back for her to force me underground." It's like, damn, force femme denied. But like, but it is right. Like it's the like
Yeah.
there's a reason. Whatever we all know about. Well, if you don't, then whatever. Force femme. We all know about why this is like the idea. Whatever, it makes sense, right? For this to be like it be
Yeah, don't worry
because
about it.
well no because you have to you have to do it, and that's scary, and the idea of someone who has femininity being like this is James H. Nevada being like, no, you're doing it now, is very reassuring to someone who the thing that they
Mhm.
lack is the ability to walk through the open door. And
Totally.
but yeah, um let's see, I'm looking at my other notes. My next note of just what is the TV glow, because there's so many, like there's the glow that they see in the basement, I think the fire when he's looking at it, the fire of the TV burning, obviously him sticking his head in the TV, the bottom surgery
Mhm.
glow.
The bottom surgery
Any
glow.
other glows?
I mean, hmm.
What were you gonna say?
Oh, it's it's the worst thing. It's I all I can think of is that tweet, I saw the pee grow. That is literally all that's there right now.
It's really good.
That's all it is.
It's really
I
good.
keep
Saw one
I
yesterday
know
that
that
was
if I
just.
look inside my brain it will be empty.
I saw one yesterday that
Scared
was
to
just
look
I saw
anyway.
the money grow, but I think pee grow is better. You know.
Yeah, I think so too. Um okay, let me actually seriously engage with what you're saying. Um it's definitely all of them.
Yeah.
My intuition, my thought was that it is the TV glowing at the very start of the movie when like
Mm.
9 or 7th grader Owen
Mm.
is watching and the room is just totally lit up.
Yeah.
And that is a scene we return
yeah.
to inside the snow globe later. It feels pretty pivotal, which also like very much a key for unlocking this movie. I think that scene, it
Yeah, definitely.
is Owen seeing like, oh my god, that's reality. This is all I want to care about.
But also that embedded in that is the famous like Drain Lords, like they can't hurt you if you don't think about it, you know? That like this is a world in which Mr. Melancholy has, you know, as the specter of patriarchy and everything, has like curated you can see the idea of the version of you that you could be, but is embedding into that don't think about it, you know?
That's very true. That's very true. Huh. I like that.
I want to see the version of this movie. You know that one, you ever watch any Star Trek Next Generation?
Never have.
There's like a famous episode where Picard gets a flute, but then when he he doesn't. I don't think the flute does it to him. He gets zapped by like a space ray that makes him live an entire life of a guy on a planet that got destroyed by its sun exploding, I think. And these people were like, we're gonna put this one guy's life into a space thing that if someone goes near it, it'll zap them and they'll remember that we once lived, you know? And then he just like lives all of that in 20 minutes, and then he has the flute that guy had, and he's like, wow, I can play this alien flute now. I want to see the version of that, but for TV Glow. I want to see the whole life, but then she wakes up and is like, wow. Anyway, now I can play the flute, and I'm in Star Trek, I guess.
Oh my god. Not how I thought that was gonna end. Oh, that's great. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
So I started speculating about what I saw the TV Glow meant, like before any images of the movie even came out, just because it's a very good title. And what I love about that title is it is formatted like a pulpy horror novel, like a paperback from the 90s. It sounds supernatural, but TV's glowing is what they do. That is not actually a bizarre like thing. It's just like a very alluring idea. It draws you in. The fact that the movie is named after not doing something but just like witnessing something feels very dissociative and feels very like it speaks to Owen's like passivity. When he tears open his chest pussy style in the bathroom, it is like static and little splices of like what sounds like news broadcasts in there. And so his catharsis is through witnessing and not actually through doing, you know, he feels great. He has this like, wow, yes moment in the bathroom when he's watching the screen inside himself, and then it doesn't matter. So like if there is a way to distill it, for me that's it.
Which is that, you know, that does feel juicy if we're talking about like media. How does this, you know, about, you know, like the movie as what it's saying about like what it means to just watch, you know? I wonder if there's a version in which like going into the pink opaque, and you know what you're saying about like Jane Schoenbrun's relation to it and how she quit was it finance, or how they quit finance job, was it, or like, you know,
something corporate, something officey, and like
is like going from watching media to making it, you know, which again we all you know, it's a bit easier to say if you have money, but like I think there's something about creating and not just consuming as like maybe the media side of that as like a way of actualizing yourself in the same way that being transgender does, you know.
I very much like that.
Yeah, because they do say like it's, you know, we have to make the show go on. You're going into the show as like making things. I think, you know, as much as I was saying that all the media stuff doesn't tie it together, I think that is something that can tie it together in a way that I'm like, yes, I get this now. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, maybe I'm just trying to make it say things that it's not really thinking about.
No, but I was thinking that like while watching it too. Oh wait, speaking of, a while back you said you wanted to say things from a like negative or critical letterbox review that your friend made. Did we do that, or did we move on?
We didn't do that, but I do have it here.
Yeah, please.
Man, she knows that I and several of her other friends love this movie, so it starts with like, I feel like if I share my true opinions on this film, I'm going to get crucified by my dearest friends.
So funny.
Which of course we did not do.
Yet.
I'll just pull little bits. Now, the correct answer, according to the film's own allegory, is of course that one should just embrace that one lives in a TV show and go fight Mr. Melancholy. And to me, as a Gen Z who grew up with analog horror, this is so painfully millennial, so uncritically TV good, nostalgia core, squee brain.
Oh my god.
This is a 2.5-star review, but it reads as like a half a star review.
Can you post this? I want to see this.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. But this is not like a
yeah. Oh yeah, no. Just with our
yeah. Anyway, because what the fuck do you mean? TV shows are fake, staged, written, contrived. The implications that come with the idea that one lives in a TV show, I would not embrace personally. Go find the writer of your TV show and kill them for making you go through an eternal heart stolen, buried alive nightmare. You could literally be written by Dan Schneider, my dude. My main beef with this film is, this is the part I actually wanted to share. That people have been telling me for months that this is like an anti-transhumanist, McLuhanist, anti-nostalgia masterpiece. I'm not getting that at all. I could be wrong, but if entering the pink opaque is leaving Plato's cave, how can we possibly also say TV bad after watching this? If anything, I feel like if it's giving embrace yourself by embracing nostalgia. You know how gender euphoric you felt watching the Amanda Show as the child? Fuck me. It's like a cutting review. I do feel like the thing I said about just like the total lack of payoff feels like the film's retort to that. But at the same time, in my original review, I said I would be shocked if this movie ends up as anyone's pink opaque. I've watched it 3 times. I know many people who've watched it 3 times. So like maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I love somebody who's not afraid to be a hater and put out a like 12 paragraph 2.5-star letterboxd review. I just want to shout out and because I agree with this first saying, I know this is a cynical thing of me to say, but a movie in 2024 being a trans allegory is not groundbreaking to me. It's nice that it exists, sure, but 1999 had 3 of those in the mainstream. Should we throw a party? Should we call Chelsea Manning? They're not wrong, you know. I think that's, you know, I think.
Oh my god, should we call Chelsea Manning? Bitch?
Well, and I think
great
like,
review.
I think, you know, when I watched World's Fair, I was like, this is a really great first movie. I think there are some ways in which I would love to see where this director grows from here, you know, and I think that is still, I still feel that way, but I hope that TV Glow is not showing us the limits of Jane Schoenbrunn. You know what I mean? In the sense that I think that this is a very bitchy comparison, but like in the way that was like, you know, having Greta Gerwig do the Barbie movie was like the worst choice because it's the Barbie movie was like perfectly poised to reveal all of Greta Gerwig's flaws as a filmmaker in a way that I'm like, if you just kept making Little Women, we would have been fine. You know what I mean?
That's so funny. I totally see what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like, if I didn't know what Greta Gerwig thought about like epic feminism speech that they give in Barbie that was like horrible. Actually, it's funny. We were talking about Chaperone. Easily the most like tension I think in Maya and I's relationship has been us watching Barbie, and Maya, who was like, and you know, the set design is great, was here for femme stuff, was here for seeing outfits and set design, and yay. And I was there for that, but I was so much more. Maya has the ability to like, if it's annoying, I'll just look away. And I was sitting there through the fucking epic feminism speech at the end of Barbie, and I was fucking hating it. But you know, like they needed to not let Greta Gerwig make the kind of movie where she was at risk of doing that. And I think I fear that, like, because I think that all the stuff around. You know, like everything we've been saying about how the trans stuff can, like the way transness is here is a bit, you know, started writing it 3 months into transition. It's a bit like, I think simple to bit on the nose. And I think the ways that the other, like, I wish I could say more about like it visually, but don't actually know how to make a movie, you know. But like, I think like all the way the other
Mhm.
themes don't feel like they quite connect, you know. I hope that like, I hope that like this kind of stumblingness, and like I think also sometimes like I think that there is a type. This is kind of, I think, the way I feel about Phoebe Bridgers as a musician is that I think that she doesn't really have the like craft level chops to really have something super solid, and kind of papers it over with kind of easy stuff and like lyrical stuff that is appealing to her
Hmm.
cohort,
Mhm.
sometimes including me, you know. And I hope that that is not Jane Schoenbrun, and I think that I saw the TV Globe presents a possible future of Jane Schoenbrun movies where I'm like, no, you need more meat on the bone, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? But I don't
This
know,
makes
this
sense.
is, you know, I liked it. We have so much. I'm gonna keep going back and forth on it as a
Yeah.
movie, you know. But
Anyway, do we feel like we've said our piece? I wonder if we could give like the bottom line here.
I do want to just say, when Maddie shows up at the grocery store, is really rocking the like I threw up slash do you have games on your phone stance.
You know what it made me think of is that thing of Patrick Starr with huge boots on.
Yes, yes, is kind of cooking Patrick Star. Oh, that's so funny. Um, let's see. Oh, I really liked the little scene when yeah, I see the image. This is really good. The little scene when we first jump to teen Owen, and his mom has cancer and is like, I hope you're on the right path, and we see him kind of like spit into the cotton candy and
Yeah.
kind of dissolve it. I thought that was just a really fun little way to have end a scene like that, and also feels very connected to, you know, the blue
Oh,
juice is
that's
strangling
true.
you and
That's
stuff.
true. Man, her performance, the mom's performance in that scene, she's
Really
wonderful.
good.
I want
Yeah.
to look into her and see what else
Yeah.
she's been in.
Oh, and when we have the cut to the 2 years later, we see like we see Owen walking, I think, away from Maddie's basement or something. And then we see Isabel walking, and is in like HD like
Mhm.
69. And it was just in there for a moment. I was like, huh.
Yeah.
I don't know. Very interesting. I want to talk about okay, first of all, thank you, Happy Birthday song is in the public domain now. Otherwise,
Yeah.
otherwise, although honestly, it would also have been very funny if they were at Funland hitting the like, it's a happy birthday, yes for you, you know, like.
Oh my fucking god.
I think it was interesting. I think the whole thing about the drain, like how it's the drain lords are the like, you don't think about them and they
Mhm.
can't get you or whatever, because of how it's like the shower, they come out of you from the shower drain because of when the dad is like quasi
Well, he
waterboarding
is
him in the
it like
shower is fun.
on the surface level, he is just helping Owen with an asthma attack, right?
Yeah, yeah, but it feels, well, no, because, well, I mean, this is when he fucking stuck his head in the TV, right? And it's like that's when he like pukes out all the blue. He's like puking out blue stuff and has the little fun effects on it, you
Yes.
know. I don't know. It just felt. I think that it was just like, I was like, okay, oh yeah, you wrote the script and intentionally had the monsters that are the guys that implant the idea of just don't think about it be the drain guys
Hmm.
in the movie, where he has the moment where he kind of regresses into not thinking about it, involves like being in the
Damn.
shower and like
I was
in,
trying to
you
make
know.
sense of the
I thought that
Drain
was fun.
Lords thing. That felt kind of random. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, it is very like, here's a monster guy. Like they're not the fucking gender lords, you know. But no, I don't know. That
Yeah, that
connection
is.
to that scene was fun. So bottom line, I like it. I think we've had a lot of criticism, and I think that that is, you know, partially because I am, I think, especially critical of trans fiction that operates in ways that I try
Yeah,
not to, you know
sure.
what I
I'm
mean?
the same with YouTube
Um,
videos.
yeah, exactly, right. I think like, you know, building off of the World's Fair, I think it shows Schoenbrun's strength at economical filmmaking and like
Mm-hmm.
vibes, and like I think really can really get to a like cutting emotional
Mm-hmm.
space, like
Yes, I
very
agree.
economically, you know. I think it is true that, you know, the emotional space that they keep showing us is like isolated suburban kid,
Mm-hmm.
you know, which it is what it is, you know. I think I stand by that. I feel like outside of the transness and on a more kind of like analytical level around the media stuff, I don't feel like it quite
Mm-hmm.
has the chops that I want it to. I think it has like, I think it has classic, you know, like more style than substance type
Which
beat,
is
you
not
know.
something that the two of us say very often. I mean, like, we love a movie that doesn't make any sense and just throws a bunch of evocative images at
That's
you.
yeah, but I think that's the thing is I think it the ways in which it does make like it does all make sense. This is what
Mm-hmm.
I've been saying this, you know what I mean? Like I think I'd be happier if there were more things that didn't all click into place like a Lego
Yeah,
instruction manual and go, "Oh, yes, this is
sure.
the allegory
Actually,
now." You know what I
a
mean?
movie that reminds me of like maybe a vision of what could have been here. Safety Not Guaranteed with Mark Duplass and Aubrey Plaza is about a guy who thinks he can build a time machine and he's looking for someone to go back with him. And the whole movie is just Aubrey Plaza who's like agreed, he like responded to the newspaper ad and just like hanging out with him and getting a vibe for this guy. And you never find out if it's real or not. Like the movie ends before they attempt to do time travel. And that's great. It leaves
Huh.
you much more to chew on. You can take it from both angles. Yeah.
That's fun. Well, or like like Mulholland Drive, right? I mean, it's hard to it feels mean to say like let's compare your movie to Mulholland Drive, but like you know what I mean? Like that's a movie in which characters are you know moving from a dream world to another dream world, and one of them might be fictional or maybe one of them is real, but maybe the one that we think is real is fake, and like they are motivated in ways that are largely about like ignoring things that are closing
Mm.
in on them, and like but that's also a movie that like the ways in which it kind of does resolve itself, like there's definitely a rate of Mulholland Drive that's like, oh yes, this I'm like you know whatever, like you can like puzzle solve Mulholland Drive and kind of like wipe your
Mm-hmm.
hands and be like, oh, we did
Mm.
it, you know. I know like this character was acting this way here because in the dream she was thinking, you know, whatever, you know. but but it's still a movie where at the end of it I think back to like the weird cube or the guy who comes out behind Winkies or the like no high banda performance, and I'm like that shit has such a special sauce in a way that has the sauce regardless that is so much more than how it clicks into a kind of
Yeah.
one-to-one interpretation, like
That's very
decoding
true.
interpretation. And I think that's what this movie doesn't have, all the things that are there. And like we didn't actually talk at all about the very much about the sequence of like Maddie getting captured by, or no, uh, Isabel getting captured by Marco and Polo, and like they do their dance, and then the whole Mr. Melancholy stuff sequence, which is the most. I didn't really
Mm-hmm.
like it. It's very stylish, you know, but everything that's happening there is to the end of explaining how this world works and this universe works in a way that is happening when the guy comes out and says no hi banda and plays the trumpet and then stops playing the trumpet and the trumpet is still
Mm-hmm.
playing, you know. But like it doesn't have the same like just sheer how it's hitting you dreaminess without worrying about
Yeah.
like and this part explains this and this part explains that type thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I love that movie and I don't get it still. I would like to, but I don't.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's my bottom line on the movie as a
Yeah.
whole. What about you?
Hmm. It is in many ways not made for me. Um, it is more made for me than your average movie, but it's not made for me as much as it is made for someone who is younger and lives in the suburbs and all these various other things. I can appreciate it from my standpoint, but I love what it is for those people. I can see what this movie means to so many trans people, not just ones who are in the closet either. Like many of my friends who've been out longer than I have found so much catharsis in this movie. And I love that about it. I think it is, I'm like honestly thrilled that it just like got made and like had a budget and like had its moment in the sun. I'm trying to judge it on its own terms, and I think on its own terms it's a very good movie. After this third watch, I don't think I'll be returning to it anytime soon, but the soundtrack I got on repeat all the time.
Yeah.
There are lines that I'm thinking about a ton, although you were right, they're mostly like their potency is mostly about the realization, and they're less powerful like intrinsically. Yeah, it's cool. I'm glad Jane Schoenbrunn is out here. It's tempting to do the thing we've spent the past 2 hours doing, which is like, oh, this thing is so widely praised, let's take it down a peg. At the end of the day, yeah, I really like it. I think I'm gonna give it like a 4 stars out of 5 is where I'm at.
Oh, are we giving stars?
No, I'm just gonna write a letterbox review.
Well, I see. This is like, well, I famously, my letterboxd, I just either like it or don't like it, and I write a review, because as soon as I start having a star system, I will start going insane about being like, if I gave this 4 stars, and then if I see another movie that I like better than this, I'm like, well, do I have to go? You know what I mean? I just know it'll drive me insane. But
that's real. That's real. Yeah.
I think I still like World's Fair better.
Sure.
I think it feels more layered. But I look forward to anything else that Jane Schoenbrunn has to show us,
including book. We should do a book episode when their book comes out.
Yeah, that would be fun. Anyway, this has been TSTV. It's so funny. We're so used to doing it with like going through the episode scene by scene. Now we're just like, yeah, we can just do anything. You know, we can talk about like Boy Genius for half an hour.
Yeah, now that it's over, we're just like, yeah, well, it's over.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll come up with segments for these bonuses, but listeners,
if you liked this, well, you're already giving us money on Patreon, so thank you. Hello, it's Sadie who's editing. As a reminder, that is a lie. You're getting this for free, but you can go to tstv.show and give us $3. Okay, thanks. Go ahead and give us a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice, but Apple Podcasts is the one that matters the most, because that's where most people are at. Go and do it, and you'll get the TSTV hug. Yay! Okay. Have fun, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Have fun, everybody is such a good way to end the episode. That's super funny. Want to do clap? 45?
45? Yeah.
Ha! You read my mind.
Oh, I keep startling Cricket.
No! Little baby.
Quote of today: time is a dressmaker specializing in alterations. That's a time quote for sure.
That's, like, I kind of love it, actually.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, kind of.
As far as their time quotes go, like we take that one, you know.
I feel like half of them are like Julius Caesar or Mark Twain or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know who
and
Faith Baldwin
or
is,
like
but...
John a businessman, and the quote is like, "To work efficiently is time's greatest expense."
Oh, damn it! You're so good at that.
Oh yeah, I'll come up with a bullshit quote any day. Time is the mistress to which we all must hearken.